Hi, my name is Dominique Youngren, and this is my Module 2 Differentiating Project-Based and Problem-Based Learning for the course Instructional Models for Digital Learning at American College of Education. The topic of this project is linear programming, which you would find in an Algebra 1 or Algebra 2 course. What it does is it has students use a method for finding a minimum or maximum value of some quantity given a set of constraints. So typical problems look similar to the one below, which reads Abo's Pizza makes $1.50 for each small pizza and $2.15 on each large pizza. On typical Friday, Abo sells between 70 and 90 small pizzas and between 100 and 140 large pizzas. The shop only has limited ingredients, so the most pizzas they can make is 210 in a day. How many of each size of pizza must be sold in order to maximize profit? So what students would do from here is define what they want their variables to be, and then using those variables, write a set of constraints in the form of inequalities. This would then be graphed on an XY coordinate plane, where the students are going to outline or highlight the feasible region, which is the region that sets or holds true for all the set of constraints. Then from there, they can build an objective function to help figure out how to minimize or maximize profit. These problems are great because they are very easy to make them relatable to things they're interested in and can take many forms within the classroom. And it also requires students to reflect on a skill set that they have learned in the unit prior with linear equations, linear inequalities, both graphing, writing, and then just kind of basic knowledge of the equations and graphs themselves. So what linear programming would look like in problem-based learning environment is very similar to the problem that I just explained on the last slide and the one that you see here on the right. So really what problem-based learning is teachers presenting to learners with a complex problem, and the learners determine what skills they need to solve the problem. This topic is perfect for this, as you can give students this at the end of the unit and really kind of let them figure out what are they going to do with all this information, because one thing they would have learned prior is how to take a word problem or a situation and write equations. Then based on those equations, they can kind of build a plan and see where to go from there. Bring me to my next point, where students must develop working knowledge of the steps of the problem-solving process, and the number of steps depends on the scope of the problem learners are solving. So creating a plan for these types of problems is really important. And once they kind of see how everything plays out and what the end product should look like, they start to see how some of the equations and some of the graphs that we've done in this unit really can help businesses and other types of problems in the real world. So it's really having students use that higher order thinking. It is designed to help students develop problem-solving skills and to become effective collaborators. So at first, you would have students probably work on these together to come up with that game plan. As especially in an Algebra 1, Algebra 2 classroom, you've got a mixed set of learners. So finding that right balance of kids that can get an idea of where to go and kids that can contribute is really important in the early steps of introducing this linear programming. But all of the problems that I would give students are problem-based, and again can take on many different forms that are relatable to things they're interested in. And I think one thing that it does a good job of is it allows students to see a basic idea and a basic function of linear equations can be really powerful and can be used in a real-world setting. So project-based learning is obviously where students are going to have an end product in mind, and they're going to create a project that kind of show things they've learned and also allow them to strengthen their learning, the connections that they've made in the unit by doing their own research and giving that information in a presentation type mode or any sort of end product where they can show what they have just learned. So teachers' curriculum, by having students develop a project, and then students plan an end product and plan out the necessary skills and content knowledge needed in order to complete their end product. It allows students to conduct their own research and answer questions that interest them. I think that's the key here with the project that I've chosen is students can really decide what they want to work with, and really anything that interests them. And they can take this as far as they want, where they could get online and find some real research about different businesses or different things within the science world to help them answer questions that they truly are interested in. And again, what's great about this is you can challenge your higher level students in asking them to answer bigger questions, and then you can also provide an opportunity for your lower level students by just having them answer more simple questions. And again, ones that are important to them, ones that they can relate to. So differentiating this project could be very effective and definitely something that is easy to manage in a classroom full of mixed learners. Students can choose a wide range of platforms to produce their end product and should also look to different technological tools to support their work or present their findings. Um, so they could create like a project either online or also just like a simple poster board of all their information and the questions that they've asked. And really, they're writing their problems too. So they would need to provide that as well. And again, it can take many different forms. I know it says create a poster, but if they created a slideshow or any sort of even like a video could definitely work with this sort of project. So teachers take on a facilitator mentor role here, helping students frame their questions, collect information, support in the planning process. So it really allows the students to be in charge of the learning and determine what prior knowledge they need to use and where they want to take that and answer questions, really big or small, that are important to them. So many similarities between the two PBLs, and I think one thing that if you've been listening, I've really stressed the importance of getting students engaged by allowing them to answer questions that are relatable to them. I think especially in the topic chosen, it can seem pretty basic and something that they may not use in the real world, but allowing them to answer these big questions, they really see how powerful it can be. So the PBLs in general aim to equip students with 4Cs: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. Again, the topic chosen, I think, allows them to be creative in the problem solving process and also with what kind of questions they want to answer. They're triggering their critical thinking as they've got to draw back on prior knowledge and make connections as to how that can be applied to real world examples. Allowing them to work in groups uses both the communication and collaboration portion, and then also finding ways to describe how they're going to solve these big questions and how they're going to present the information works right along that communication piece. So also as described, teacher's job is to support and guide learning in the role of facilitator rather than just direct instruction. So the students really take on the learning, as this next point says, emphasizes self-directed learning. It allows students to create a final product or performance to demonstrate learning, which is very different than just giving direct instruction and having them just work out similar problems. So I think in math, these PBLs are really effective and really allows students to make connections among different topics that we've learned throughout the entire year, and even make connections between prior learning from other classes, and maybe even extend that all the way into their science. So in a good math classroom, you should be seeing these PBLs being used. One really important common aspect in the PBLs is active learning, which involves other teaching techniques besides direct instruction. So PBLs are a direct instruction or reflection of that. But it can take on many different forms by simply just having students do the work and not necessarily just giving them that information. So what forms that this could look like is where students could be discovering, processing, or applying information. And again, that can take on many different forms. Emphasis is placed on higher order thinking skills such as evaluation, synthesis, and analysis. So students are really having to trigger more than just the ideas and concepts they just learned, but use some of these higher order thinking processes to help answer these questions and help develop skills within a wide range. So skills that are related to the curriculum and skills that are related to just 21st century necessary skills. So active learning is, again, something that should be seen in all math classrooms. Thanks for watching. Here are my references, and have a great day.